In this video, we'll learn more about hooks and we'll see how hooks greatly simplify the request pipeline process or the response sending process in a Houdini based project. So let's dive in. So you recall us adding this earlier? We added a before load on the product detail page to ensure that the ID that's provided to the page always matches the ID that Shopify expects to look up a certain product or a category or a tag or anything, right? So there are multiple such load hooks in Houdini. Like before load, we also have something like load, right? If you need to see an exhaustive list of all the hooks that Houdini makes available to us, you can check out the docs. Sometimes you need to add additional logic to a concurrent query. For example, you might want to check if the current session is valid before a query is sent to the server. In order to support this, Houdini will look for hook functions defined in your page.js or page.ts file, right? One is this before load, which we are already using to validate if the ID match the criteria that Shopify expects all of the identifiers to have, right? This is called before Houdini executes load query against the server. You can expect the same argument as SvelteKit's load function, right? And that's why we were able to invoke this. Now, another version of page GQL file is this load hook. And first Houdini before load invokes, then you have Houdini load. You also have something called after load, called after Houdini executes load queries against the server. You can expect the same arguments as SvelteKit's load function, plus an additional data property referencing query result data. So if you need to say process the data that got returned to you, you can also have this available to you. Keep in mind that if you define this hook, Houdini will have to block requests to the route in order to wait for the result for more information. So you have a load hook, right? Or after load hook. You also have something called on error hook, right? So there are a lot of such hooks, right? So let's just simplify our current page.ts condition a bit, right? Here what we are doing is we are checking if the ID matches the given criteria. If the ID isn't matching the given criteria, we are erroring. We can simplify this. We can say something like this instead, right? Now this is a special property that Houdini expects that will be available out of your load file or page.ts file. What it helps us do is, say if you have a GraphQL query by the name of product detail, you'll be able to actually use this name to export a variable preparation function or argument or params preparator function, right? So you can have product detail. This is the name of your query. Consider this underscore query name and then variables, and then your function can return all of the params that should be forwarded to your load function, right? Here we are just doing that, right? So instead of checking whether the ID parameter starts with GID Shopify product, we can actually prepend this string to the ID parameter, right? We can have access to the event, and with the event access, we can just prepend this to event params ID, right? So let's just remove this, save this, come back to your page, and there hit enter. It won't work for us. Remove this part, and now it's working for us, right? Just so instead of using event, you can actually use params. You can type this and then just save params ID, save this, reload the page. It shall still work for you. This isn't needed. Clean this up. Go back to your product listing page. So the git isn't corrected yet. So we can go back to our listing view, which is the product card view, and there we can just say p info id, and there we can say substring info id, last index of this +1, hover over this. That is forming all fine now. Click this, it's working. Click this, it's working. It's working with the ID all correct. Load page. Yeah, it's all working for us now.
In this video, we learned a bit more about hooks, so we covered a lot of ground in this series. We now know almost all of the querying related construct available in Houdini. In the next volume of this series, we'll cover a bit more advanced feature of Houdini. I hope you found this series informative and useful. See you in my next video. Bye-bye.